Good afternoon and welcome to the April 15th formal council meeting. As always, we began this council meeting before 3 p.m. to allow for public comment at the beginning. And the first card is Mr. Pat Vint, followed by Mr. John Rusnick, then Diane Barker.
Yes, good afternoon. I wish we had a consensus here, or a majority, or whatever you call it. What good does it do to come here to talk to the wall? But anyway, I got to thank Diane Barker again. She found this thing that fits us elderly to a T. What is elderly abuse? And right in the back here, on a nice big black page, it says, Arizona Elder Abuse Coalition. Break the silence, report elder abuse. That's exactly what's happening to myself and John Rusnick and partly Diane Barker, but she's too young to be the elderly. Anyway, just read the first part out. What is elderly abuse? Abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation of the elderly is a national tragedy we can all help prevent. Unfortunately, there are those who would take advantage of the most vulnerable segment of our population for their own gain. By identifying and reporting elderly abuse, we can all make a difference. But what constitutes elderly abuse? It's all spelled out here. And all of you, starting with the mayor down, are guilty of elderly abuse. There's no doubt about it. There's an article in the budget hearing thing that's going to be held this afternoon at 5:30. I think it was in that the budget, we must have been paid the budget people to tell you what you wanted to hear rather than what you must hear. See, there's nobody paying attention. Jim's up there drinking a drink, and David, he's paying attention. Thank you, David. You're on our side, hopefully. But I hate to say that you are part of this elderly abuse. Do you believe that? Not going to say. But you are, because you're letting this happen. You're letting this happen. The development services, neighborhood services, and even Patrick Ravenstein conveniently took off this week, because I want him here to answer what he did to my property. He destroyed my property. I can't even operate in my own yard with my little scooty or my miniature golf cart. And that is a disaster that you're committing elderly abuse. You're all even. You all have an equal vote, starting with the mayor down. And you should take your job seriously and do your job, not sit up there and smile and say, look at that old guy, he's complaining again. Well, you better be aware that this old guy is never going to quit. It's a disaster that I have to take my retirement time to come down here to try to get you people to listen. But you never listen. You think you're above the law. You think you're another Hillary Clinton. She wants to be the break the glass ceiling. Well, Phoenix has already broke the glass ceiling, because between all of you and the city manager, you have destroyed Phoenix. What about the Sheraton Hotel? How could that possibly be? How could that possibly be? John Rusnick made a suggestion. Let's put a casino over there. Use the first 3 or 4 floors. We'll have a money machine over there. And you can do that because you're the mayor and a council of the city of Phoenix. You can decide if you want to make a profit out of there or keep paying.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Vint. Mr. John Rusnick. And our final card will be Diane Barker.
I want to finish the story on the inspection that Neighborhood Services done on my property on February the 26th. On the letters that are sent out for the supposed violation on my property, It says, at the time of inspection, the inspector will look for these 8 blighting conditions, and one of them is for junk, on the property and on properties in the immediate area. If violations are found, appropriate enforcement action will be taken. Well, they come out to my property, and there was no violations. In fact, in the last 10 years, they've been out there 3 times and found no violations. But anyhow, I told him to look at the property next door. There was an old ancient computer out in the weather with other junk, and I pointed this out to him. It's been there about 6 months, and I said I have photos if he wanted photos. The inspector was one of the supervisors from Neighborhood Services, Andreezy, and he had a young woman inspector. I can't recall her name right now, but I do have it. Nothing has happened about this. Andreezy said this is private, his private junk that he's got over there, personal property, that don't count as a blight condition. So it's just another deal that when they come out to my place is supposed to be in violation, but the next door neighbor who turned me in, he's got all this personal property. Well, I've got 2 Weimaraners, and I have to clean up their poop. Well, their poop is my personal property. So this is really, really something wrong going on with the inspections, that they can do it on one part of the city or on one street, but on my street, anything that comes up, I'm the violator. Nobody else is the violator. So something has to be done with that department. They're all just looking for something for me which has no violations. On the way out in Andreezy, seen some stuff in front of my shop, which I have a hobby shop, a 24 by 24 hobby shop, and I do welding and whatever I want to do there. He seen a stainless steel water bucket that my dogs drink out of, and it had acquired a leak, and I was going to fix it. So he told the inspector with him to take a picture of that, but he didn't take the picture of the neighbor that he should have taken, where there really was junk. And the stuff that I had, you couldn't see from the street, or you could not see it from the neighbor. So it's discrimination and retaliation.
Thank you, Mr. Rusnick. Final card is Diane Barker.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Valenzuela. Diane Barker, I'm in District 7, and I would like to say just first of all that this is a Band-Aid approach. My even speaking here, you're violating your own charter because you're supposed to be taping the public input with the formal agenda, and it's bifurcated. So that's on the record. The thing is, I would like to thank the city manager. I was able to read the letter. Mr. Resnick passed his inspection very well on his property, and the city did follow up and sent him a letter noting that. I have been to the county and MAG and recently over at the ADQ, and in regards to the problem of these gentlemen and Mr. Resnick, and basically they've said it's too bad the city didn't have another way to resolve problems, and soon, because they have an ombudsman even up at the ADQ, and he was just saying there's a lot of things that happen in problems with citizenry that really it needs to be, it's like nip it at the bud. Nip it at the bud and get it settled. And so we have this long dialogue, but basically that keeps coming back from you, and there is a way to resolve it. a mediation because there's several elements. You take not only the violation, but you also take the process where the things that have occurred, right or wrong, and they get mediated and they get settled. And lots of times the monetary, if there is any payment there for any kind of a fine or a compensation, it gets dwindled down when you settle things through a more amicable process, okay? What I want to give to you really quickly, and this is, I was over at the EOD. I really would like to see a good entry into particularly the big contractors that are referred the people for an alleged civil rights violation out of EOD to the EEOC, because the EEOC does not investigate. That is, I am proof that is a horrible wearing down, and the only body that makes money are the attorneys. And I got this, I'm asking you, is this the complaint form, the new one? It's out of the airport that EOD gave me. They don't even have a complete form. So I'd like to have somebody get back to me. I have given this to you. I'm asking, will your transit contractors in 2015 of June contain civil rights? Well, they will contain the fact that the transit director is a supervisor over all the materials, and the U.S. Comptroller has access to that. All of that will be in there, and if you'll consider mediation in the future, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barker. We will take a short break. In just a few moments, we'll begin our formal council meeting.